war never changes. As a soldier, that's a good thing. As a police officer like John McClane, who's been fighting pitched battles against international terrorists, army soldiers, and ex-soldiers and mercenaries, is pretty much the same thing. So, yeah. You've clicked on the video, you've seen the thumbnail and the title, you know what we're doing. This is Fallout 4 Survival, and we're here to see if we can indeed survive with Detective John McClane from the Die Hard series. I say the Die Hard series, I'm actually only including the first 3 films. I am not putting myself or anyone else through Die Hard 5, which was a terrible movie, and well, I wouldn't even bother to go so far as 4, which only saving grace is Mary Elizabeth Winstead playing John McClane's daughter. But if you want to watch her, I suggest watching a good film that she's in, like Scott Pilgrim, where she's Ramona Flowers. But I digress. We're here with John or Jan McClane, and you can see we are putting his stats in here. So, in order to roleplay as John McClane, we're not giving him too much strength. Sure, you could say against the average person he does have a bit, but considering against hardened wasteland folk, he's not going to be particularly strong. When you consider the fact that he got incredibly lucky in his first fight in the first Die Hard film, where it was only by falling down the stairs he manages to beat his opponent, you can say that is not really his strong suit. Pun not intended. However, he is a very good cop. So, because of that, we are going to give him very high perception, very high intelligence. We've seen it in multiple times in the franchise where he was able to use his detective skills extremely well. So we're going to have to give him high ones of those. Charisma, I was really back and forth on because he does have a bit of a way with some of the ladies. However, not all the time. Ask his wife. And he also has a habit of pissing off a hell of a lot of people, including his own captain and all of his teammates. However, he is good enough that he manages to get himself companions in all of his films, whether it's Al from Die Hard 1, whether it's Barnes in Die Hard 2, or whether it's Zeus in Die Hard 3. So you can see that there is something there. So we're going for a just below average for charisma. Like I say, intelligence is high. Agility, again, he's very much hampered in all films, either by having no shoes, or by having to deal with snow, or having to just get around a gridlock city. So we can't give him too high agility, so we've gone with fairly standard. Luck, we've got to give him some luck, because let's face it, he is incredibly lucky, and that will play into the rules. So yes, we do have some rules. That's the whole point of doing this custom roleplay, otherwise it would just be a normal run. So what are the rules for our police officer?
Why not? Because you're a policeman. There are rules for policemen.
Well, to make this a John McClane run, what we're going to be doing, first of all, it's going to be a no armour run. So no armour at all for our detective. That means only the standard suits or clothes that you can pick up in game. He does in Die Hard 3 wear a hard hat, as you can see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a hard hat. However, that doesn't actually give him any attributes apart from just a cosmetic difference. So I don't think that's really going to be cheating. He is allowed to pick up suits that will help him. So we are going to be looking to pick up the hazmat suit. He's not, dumb. He picks up coats and things like that in Die Hard 2 to help him protect against the environment. So I believe picking up a hazmat suit would only make sense for a detective, especially one as perceptive and intelligent as he is. Now, for the other conceit, it being a Die Hard film, we know that he always manages to pick up ammo. You can see here he will grab and hoard ammo from any of the combatants he faces. However, guns. Now, with the guns, yes, he is trained and able to use any gun, but the conceit is that I have decided that if we run out of ammo with a gun, we have to drop the gun. There's no point carrying it if we don't have the ammo for it. There's no point carrying it if you think, oh, I might get some ammo for it later. We can keep the ammo that we find, but we cannot keep the guns. If a gun runs dry, then that means that we have to drop the gun and pick up another gun. So we're going with one gun and one melee weapon. I think that's the fairest, and we will see how that goes later on down the line. That may come back to bite us. So, as you can see, we go through our intro, we get our very swift divorce, courtesy of Kellogg. Thanks very much, Kellogg. And we awake in the vault, and we are off to the races. So we start out of time, go through the vault. Obviously, our wife is dead. We spend all of about 5 minutes mourning her, just about as much time as we spend with Holly in the whole 3 films. So we're off to the races. We have our first weapon in the security baton, and we have our first gun, the 10mm pistol that we pick up from the overseer's office. I think those are both quite fitting for a police officer, actually. So we get out of the vault, we see the state of the world, and we decide to go back home to Sanctuary, pop in and say hello to Codsworth, who's having a terrible time, bless him, and we decide to follow him around and clear up the neighbourhood before setting off for Concord. Now, Concord brings up the most important aspect of the game, and that's going to be, what faction do we side with? Now, I ran through all the factions in my head. I decided to go with the Minutemen faction. This does make sense, I think, canonically, because if you look at, say, Die Hard 2, he really doesn't get on with the armed forces there. They obviously end up turning out to be in league with the bad guys, with Esperanza. So I think that would rule the Brotherhood of Steel out. And I think they're obviously far too straight-laced and steadfast with their rules. He definitely wouldn't last long with them. The Minutemen are the closest to a police force that the Commonwealth has, so I think he would help out Preston. The Railroad, I can't see him agreeing with the way that they do things. Even though he's a bit of a loose cannon himself, he still does play by the rules. Even in Die Hard, before he shoots most of the bad guys, he normally at least tells them to put the gun down before he shoots them. So he does have his morals. And for that reason, he definitely wouldn't side with the Institute, who are just, I think, the most evil of all the 3 factions. So, you can see here, we have managed to get a good bit of ammunition just from leaving Vault 111, so we can get through, hopefully, most of this section in Concord with our first pistol before we have to worry about picking up something else. Although at least we've got a few decent options already with the pipe pistols that have been dropped by the raiders, and obviously the fusion cells and the laser musket that was left outside by the fallen Minuteman. So we rush through, have a few problems with the raiders, I'm not going to lie. They're not too bad inside, but once we get back outside, they're going to be a bit of a problem. So we have to get a little bit more creative rather than just rushing through and vatsing all of them. As we build up our stats and we level up, we will be putting points into the Mysterious Stranger. I am counting Al from the end of Die Hard 1, who manages to shoot Carl as the Mysterious Stranger. So from that aspect, I'm including that as canon. So we pick up our bobblehead, and then I mistakenly sit down because I think, I can sit down and save, forgetting that we're on survival and we have to actually sleep to save. So stand back up and get on with it. Now, whilst he is perceptive and intelligent, I didn't feel that we could go into the power armor even just for this section, because again, that defeats the object of having a no armor run. And even though we could pick up the minigun, in this section it's actually locked off to us because we can't use the power armor to unclip it from the vertibird. So we just take pot shots from the raiders from the top under the cover of the roof. Doesn't go particularly great. We managed to get a few of them, but as you can see, even with VATS, it's not the best idea from so high up. So rather than going back down through, we decide to use the church exploit. Rather than getting up into the top of the tower, we use it to go back down. And then we quickly sneak around the back of Concord, leg it back up to Red Rocket, and sleep to do a quick save. which I know it's a bit cheating, but hey, it's not cheating, it's just exploiting the system. So we then go back into Concord, having saved our game, and knowing that we have our first proper sort of boss fight against a Deathclaw. And going against a Deathclaw with a 10mm is not going to be easy. So what we do is we use the buildings as cover, and again, we take out the rest of the raiders one by one who are too busy being preoccupied with dog meat. So you will see a lot of that in this run. We do use our companions as basically as taunts, to aggro the enemies whilst we take them off from afar. So we sting pack dog meat, get him back up and running, and then that's the raiders taken care of, and now we just have to deal with a Deathclaw. No problem, right? Luckily, the raiders have managed to take off some of his health, and the same with Preston, who's been shooting from afar. But we just use the cover of the building here and absolutely rinse through. As you can see, we rinse through all of our 10mm ammo, which means that we have to, for the first time in the game, drop the gun. So once we've done that, we're left with only a security button. So we actually go up and around the corner here, grabbing the meds from the box, but it also affects the pathing of the Deathclaw, who's stuck around the side, believing that's where we are. So we're then able to pop some jet, grab the shotgun, and finish off the Deathclaw, and we are done with our first boss, and basically our first mission is completed. We've managed to save Preston, and we can now send them all off with Junkie Mama Murphy up to Sanctuary, where they will set up shop. So we then visit them just to make sure they're all set up, and hey, what do you know, they're all done. And our new friend Preston is extremely grateful for us. And now it's time to start doing some of the menial tasks, which means for us it's going to be visiting all of our neighbours and starting to get set up with settlements. If we're going for the Minutemen run, we need to have a good amount of settlements. So having first paid a visit to Drumlin Diner to say hello to Simone and Wolfgang and give them a warm welcome courtesy of some Molotovs, we then hit the Starlight Drive-In, grab that, and then it's off to radio station Olivia so that we can grab the locket for Abernathy Farm. This one was another one that I was a bit concerned of. You can see here we're already onto a pipe pistol, having used up all of our shotgun, and I was extremely worried about Akak because it's the first boss we face who's got a heavy-duty weapon, really, with a minigun. So luckily, again, we're able to use explosives. John McClane has been shown to be very proficient with explosives. So I think it is more than fair that we get to use them in this playthrough. After all, he did steal the detonator and the C4 explosives from Hans in Die Hard 1, so I think it's not too much of a stretch to assume that he'd be able to use Molotovs as well. We then pick up the minigun, even though it won't last us for very long, but still, it's going to be a very good weapon to tearing down some ghouls, etc. And then hopefully we can pick up something else along the way later. In the early game, pipe weapons are going to be fairly standard everywhere anyway, so anything that's heavier than that is going to at least stand us in good stead for a good chunk. So we grab the locket, and hey, we're done. After that, we head along north until we reach Ten Pines Bluff, and we are given the Corvega job, where we have to go in and defeat all the raiders in order to stop them from bothering these lovely people. So this is where things are going to start getting really interesting in terms of the playthrough, because for me, we haven't leveled up high enough just yet in order to put too many points into things like physical damage resistance, or our exoskeleton, the adamantium skeleton, so that we don't get limb damage. And obviously it's not going to be until mid to late game where we're even going to need to worry about energy resistance. So pretty much here it's going to be a case of 1 to 2 hits will pretty much kill us. So we have to be extremely careful. Vats and Jet are going to be our very best friends. So it's a lot of hiding behind cover, peeking out, taking pot shots as and when we can, as you can see. Now, unfortunately, during this run, my PC was kind of dying, and it kind of died halfway through. I had hoped to get this video up a good month earlier than it is going up by the time you will see this. Unfortunately, you can see it does stutter in certain places, which is really unfortunate. But rather than having to do the whole run all over again, I just decided, you know what, the sections where it is pretty bad aren't too egregious, so we're just going to go with it. If this video does well enough, and if people want to see me do it again, or we end up doing a run with a different character, then rest assured we do have a brand new, much better gaming setup now, so we won't have to worry about that too much. But this is just to explain as to why it's looking a little slow and sluggish in this section. I think there may be one or two sections later on in the video where it's also pretty bad, but again, I digress. So we make our way through Corvega mostly unharmed. Luckily, we are able to sleep down in the sort of raiders' bedroom quarters at the bottom of the plant, and then we can head up. Having taken care of most of the factory level, we can go up to the top floor. So that's our main task now, is just getting up there. Again, we're not going to be taking on any of the bosses ourselves. The main thing that we're going to be doing here is using both dog meat as a taunt to aggro the enemies, and also making use of the cover. I know I said that John McClane isn't the most technically minded. He doesn't really work well with technology, but if something is a novice lock on a computer, then I'm allowing it, because it is the lowest rank. We're not leveling it up after that, but if it's a novice, then we're going to give it to him. Therefore, he's allowed to unlock a Protectron. You would think a police officer would have some rudimentary knowledge anyway, so I think a novice lock is absolutely fine for him to be able to deal with. So we let the Protectron deal most of the damage, and Bob, your uncle, he takes care of most of it for us, and we are just able then to nip around the back and mop up the remnants, which is nice. We can also grab some of the loot as well, and probably get ourselves a better weapon than this pipe pistol. Although pipe pistols can pretty much see through most of the game. A lot of that also does include being able to upgrade it at some point, or putting all your perks into, pistol damage increase. So we're not going to worry about that too much. We're just going to grab everything that we can in here. I did also consider grabbing the cedar hardwood baseball bat that's just outside, but in the end I decided against that. I thought I'm just going to keep the security baton. Given the fact that the baseball bat is so slow, it wasn't really worth it. So we sleep, we grab our grognak, and then we have to make use of dog meat. We have to make use of all the companions that we get in game when it comes to grabbing all of the loot, all of the junk, because we're going to be needing that obviously to build up our settlements, and also to build our teleporter. So after this, we make a hasty retreat. We deal with the raiders that are just here, but we don't bother going up and around and grabbing the bobblehead and dealing with anything else. We just get out of Dodge, because it's just not worth it. Then, as you can see, we make our way down through Boston, through Cambridge, and down into the centre of town. And this is where we have to grab Hangman's Alley. I consider this one of the key places in the game. It's central, but it's somewhere where we can actually build and craft and create stuff without having to spend a bunch of caps in Diamond City in order to get the building there. It's not worth 2,000 caps at all, especially on a run like this where we're not really worried about trading or anything like that. It just takes too much time. This is somewhere that we can build up easily, and it's also central for everywhere we need to go, so it's a great place to save every now and then. Then it's time to head to Diamond City. So we pop along, take a couple of pot shots, then realise that we're shooting at caravan guards and not super mutants. So we decide, it's just leg it into Diamond City. We meet up with Piper, who will become a companion for us because, as we see in Die Hard 2, John McClane does team up with the journalist there in order to get the helicopter ride at the end of the film. So again, canonically, it makes sense. That's why I'm giving him companions in this run through. So she'll be very handy later on. So, in order to progress the game, we go in, we have a chat with her. Again, just doing these little side quests in order to get some more experience. So we speak with Piper, get our interview done and out of the way, and then we are ready to head off again. There we go. So that's that done. And we are off and back out. Unfortunately, we come across this scene, and this is where we first really learn of the Institute. And then we go and learn about Nick Valentine, because obviously that's our next real objective, is to break him out of Skinny Malone's vault. So we spoke to him, we still have Preston for now, and we decide to hit the dugout inn because it's only 10 caps, which is not too expensive. And considering that we can only use our caps for either staying somewhere or to get fixed up by docs, being patched up, we see in the films he gets patched up or he patches himself up quite often, so I think that both of those are allowed. We cannot trade for ammo though, we cannot trade for guns or anything else. We say hello to Edward here because we want to get a few quests done out of the way nice and early, just to build up our ranks, and then we pay our first visit to the dock to get ourselves fixed up for now as well. Like I say, this is just early game stuff. You guys know the deal. We visit a lot of people, and then we have some interesting interactions. We go to Cabot House. They send us up to Parsons. We do the job quite nicely for them. And then, as we're coming back, we deal with Parsons Creamery easily. But then, we aggro these feral ghouls, and for some reason, they just won't stop coming. They keep on coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, as Smash Mouth would say. So we get into Cabot House. We go to speak to Edward and Jack, turn in the quest, and yeah, it doesn't quite go to plan, as you'll see.
Edward, got a minute?
So did you find out what happened to the courier?
Some raiders set up camp near Parsons and ambushed.
Oh, we found out all right.
I took care of it.
They were all taking the serum.
About the serum?
Unfortunately, it's not the serum, super serum, strong soldier raiders that we have to worry about. It's the ghouls. Somehow they followed me all the way to Cabot House and then inside as well. So I don't know what happened to the sentry bot outside, if he was just taking a nap or what. But yeah, they all come in, they burst in, and they bug out the game, which is fantastic. So now, Jack and his mother are stuck looping this conversation over and over about Imogen being missing. We can't do anything, and Edward won't speak to us. We can't turn in the mission. So we say, to heck with that, let's just go. Let's just get out of here. We'll go back to Diamond City. We'll grab the key from Kellogg's house, and then we'll worry about getting out of town because, yeah, clearly that wasn't working. So it's time instead to go to Vault 85 and free our good synth, Nick Valentine. And again, this is going to be one where we're going to have to be dropping weapons and swapping them over, because we'll probably go through quite a bit of ammo in here. As you can see, we're on the pipe pistols for now, but the triggermen do drop a lot of 10mm, both for their pistols and also for the submachine gun as well. So between either the 10mm submachine gun or the 45 submachine gun, we've got quite a lot of choices here, which is good because we run through ammo quite a lot in this section because there are a lot of triggermen here. And with my UK aim being as great as Jabbo's, you can tell that we're going to need it, and we're going to need VATS to get through this because, yeah, otherwise we could be in a lot of trouble. So we grab ourselves some weapons, we sneak down, and then we send Piper off to do our dirty work for us. I think it was some point during Parsons Creamery where I had to actually swap out for Piper because I think Preston just got too injured and he went back to Sanctuary, and rather than heading all the way back there just to grab him again, I thought no, I'll wait till I get back to Diamond City and then just grab Piper. It makes a lot more sense. So we grab her as a companion, we deal with the triggermen again, we just stay undercover and we pot shot where we can. Really not taking advantage of VATS here. I don't know why in the early game I wasn't even really considering using VATS. I was trying to get through as much as possible without it. I don't know why. It's there. It's available for us. And like I say, a detective like John McClane, we see in time and time again in the films where he has ridiculously good aim, which you could put down to being VATS assisted or the equivalent thereof. So we do start using it later, but I don't know why in this early section. Again, with the 10mm pistol, more than the pipe pistol, you don't get really good percentages, so that might be something to do with it. But there you see, we finally start using our noggin and decide to start using VATS. So we've gotten through the tunnel system, and now it's off into the vault proper. We're going to save scum because always, especially on survival, you got to save as often as you can. We do pick up the weapon just to disarm it and for the XP, but then obviously we drop it straight away. But again, it's an easy 6 to 12 XP every time you disarm one of those, so we always want to pick it up. So now we wait for Piper. The AI is really bad in this. If anyone's wondering, this is the Xbox Games Pass version that I'm playing on PC. So this is vanilla Fallout 4. We don't have the Game of the Year. We don't have any of the extra DLCs on here. So we're just playing through the main campaign. We're not playing through like Far Harbor or Nuka World. We're just going straight through the normal campaign, just in case you're wondering. Also, because we're playing the Games Pass version, we're not going for any of the mods. So this is just purely vanilla that we're playing. So we make it through the vault, we manage to sleep under the stairs, and then we head up to where Nick is being held captive. We make swift work with a nice 10mm that we picked up from one of the goons who were very kind enough to drop it for us when they died. And now we have probably one of our best teams because we have Nick, who's going to work as a partner for us, and we also have Piper as our companion. So having two people to go in front of us whilst we stay behind both of them and just take shots at the bad guys from the rear is going to work out very, very well for us, as you can see. We get through, pick up all the alcohol and cigarettes because, hey, it's John McClane. He is an alcoholic after all. And then it's time to take care of Skinny and his goons. We toss a cryo grenade, and then we run out of ammo. And this was, I thought, going to be a real problem. So we absolutely pelt it back through the vault, trying to find someone who's got a weapon. Luckily, we find a submachine gun that isn't 10mm ammo, because otherwise that would have been a real issue. We run back up, and then it's time to take care of Darla. So we put her to sleep. We leave her the Cedar Bat, though, because that's not really any good for us. We take care of the remaining triggermen. Skinny's already been dealt with by Nick, and we are good. So, we've managed to complete our first real major objective, and that is we have freed Nick, and now it's time to start the main quest to find Sean. So, it's back to Diamond City, so we can pick up the scent. Yep, Kellogg's preferred brand. We pick up a legendary melee weapon, and we pick up a much better pipe pistol, and it is off into Fort Hagen. So it was at this point that I suddenly realised, coming up to the boss battle with Kellogg, do you know what? People can have more than one weapons. And the reason why is because I was watching Die Hard again in order to grab some footage for this video, and I was like, oh my god, of course, the boss battle he has at the very end, he actually keeps a gun duct tape to him. He carries an extra weapon. He gives the empty 1-2 hands, and again at the very beginning of Die Hard 3, he has a gun duct tape to him. So I figured, you know what, keeping an extra weapon, that's perfectly allowed. And considering how fast, as you saw, how fast Kellogg heals, it's definitely needed. You can't beat him without it. So we deal with Kellogg, and then it's off to the castle to take it back for the Minutemen. Again, we let the Minutemen and Nick take care of most of the damage, whilst we kind of just cowered it out in the tunnels. We let Piper and Nick do most of the work. Then Piper seems to bug out for about 15 minutes in the game. She's walking around permanently with her hands up like that. I've no idea why. But once that's done, it's off to find Virgil. We speak to Virgil, and then it's off to deal with our Corsa. Again, we take him out with relative ease, having gone through the Gunner Plaza, which was really difficult. Really struggled with Green Tech getting through here. It took a good few attempts before we were able to get Hunter hunted down correctly. It was a struggle, but we did get there in the end. Then we swap over. I think we're pretty much maxed out with Piper by then, so we decide in order to keep the railroad suite, we do the switchboard, and then we can also grab a hazmat suit from here rather than having to go and do Cambridge Polymer Labs is the other place where you can get one, and I wasn't going to go all the way up to the... You don't actually need to go up to the northeast at all. You don't need to bother going up to the quarry, and I wasn't going to go just for a hazmat suit. So then we get a call from Ronnie. We have to deal with Sarge down in the tunnels, which is a real pain, but it needs to be done. The reason it's a pain is because, as you can see here, we actually run out of ammo. So for the first time in the game, this is a section where there is no other weapon down here that we can pick up. We have no ammo for any of the guns, so we have to rely on mines in order to do enough damage. So it's very much a question of hiding, cowering it out, waiting, getting him to come around the corner so he runs into the mines, and then repeating the process over and over again. Unfortunately, Ronnie's already down by this point, and she repeatedly goes down, so she can't really do too much damage. Luckily, we were able to cower it out. We managed to get the other side of Sarge so that he was trapped in between the corridors, because if he would have been trapped in the main section, we'd have been screwed. So we managed to do that. We sleep and save, and then we're off outside to test our new artillery, just to make sure that it works and Ronnie's happy, and then we can carry on with our Corsa chip back to Virgil. So we double check that our heavy guns are firing, everything seems to be tickety-boo, happy days. So that's us done. So you can see here, we give ourselves the mysterious stranger because, let's face it, we need all the help we can get, and if we can get lucky and it's keeping within the rules of the run, which I think it is, because he has been helped out with bad guys being taken out by people other than him, I'll allow it. So we sneak back to Virgil's. We managed to get in over the top without awakening the Deathclaw, which is something that I believe the first time was a real problem. Piper ended up getting bodied by him. We speak to Virgil, and then since Preston's here, we speak to him straight away, so you don't have to worry about the other factions. He tells us that Sturgis will take care of it, because apparently Sturgis is an engineer savant, and he can just make a teleporter just like that, which is great. So, we pop a stealth boy, hoping to sneak past the Deathclaw. It doesn't go very well, because it just goes for Preston instead. So we leave Preston to it. We know that he'll just go back to Sanctuary, so we don't have to worry. He's not going to get killed off. And we just pop a couple of nuke quantums and a run for our lives out of the glowing sea. Because even though we have the hazmat suit, it is too dangerous to stay around here. Even a Stingwing, as you can see, we get hit by a Stingwing here in a second, and it absolutely tanks our health. So rather than trying to, as you can see there, We managed to run away. We managed to heal back up, but yeah, it was looking very, very sketchy for a moment there. So we just run. We just absolutely run. So we then come back. We hit the Forest Grove on our way back because there was a new gun that I hadn't picked up. I'd completely forgotten about, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I never got the End of Dungeon steamer trunk. So get ourselves a much better weapon, and then we head back to Sanctuary to have a quick chat with Sturgis, who apparently is an amazing engineer, better than any of us expected. And even though he hasn't been able to do anything around Sanctuary, and it looks like an absolute dump, he can suddenly just build us a teleporter. You see Mama Murphy just hanging around in the background like, got any jet? Hey, got any jet? No, Mama Murphy. No jet for you, because it's far too valuable to waste on you. We also used up a couple of our power-ups, as you can see on Local Leader, so we can send our settlers from Sanctuary around to the other places as supply lines, which we're going to need much later for when the Institute try and take the castle. So, and also basically any other settlement as well. We need to be able to build stuff. We've got a few people here who are working on scrap detail, so it makes sense. So we can do that, and then we can head to any settlement that requests help and build up defenses that way. But as for now, luckily we've picked up enough scrap from hoarding everything that we're able to build the teleporter. We quickly save, and then we get Sturgis to send us to the Institute. Now, I was debating whether or not to do some missions for the Institute, whether it was actually worth doing it or not. But I decided, you know what? I'm not really sure if it's something that's keeping in character. I think John McClane is someone who just angers people straight away, and then that's it. There's no going back. So I figured this will be our only real interaction with Father. We're not going to waste time. We're not going to pretend to be something we're not. We're going to go in, tell him how we stand, and then he's going to kick us out of the Institute. Bye. Thanks very much. I don't think John McClane would take very well to his son playing God, essentially, having him run around the Commonwealth chasing after basically a synth. So that's what we do. We say, thanks, but no thanks. We're out of here. He shows us the door, and we are now enemies with the Institute. It's also the quickest way to finish the game as well, so we decide, you know what, it's probably for the best. We head back to Sanctuary and we catch up with Preston, who just seems to be wandering around aimlessly. So we grab him, and then it's time basically to do form ranks, which means just going around to all of our settlements and keeping them happy until we can actually get something useful in terms of a mission. So it's very much busy work here for Preston that we're doing, but it's better than nothing. So just as we decide, okay, it's time to do some busy work, while Sturgis is dealing with decoding everything that we grab from the Institute, we are about to go and deal with the slog.
Bad news. The Institute has been scouting the castle. Looks like they're getting ready for a major attack. If they can knock out the castle, it could set us back to square one. We can't let that happen again. I've sent word for all available men and men to rally at the castle.
So yeah, we get word from Preston just as we're dealing with the quarry here, as we were heading up to the slog, that it's time to defend the castle. So we're off down there, and we just have to deal with a couple of enemies here, and then it's time to swim. We spend a lot of the game swimming because it's the easiest way to get around. So you can see here, we just swim our way to the castle, and then we play a game that I like to call Tower Defense. Basically, I just build myself a nice little kill box here, where we just build ourselves a little tower, and we just put in an endpoint so that we can't let anyone in or out unless we decide that they can. We put in a couple of these little windowed ones so that we can take pot shots outside, and then we are ready for the Institute to come and try and take over, and hopefully we'll last through it. We just need to take care of the southern wall as well, which is always a place where I forget that they always come in, so we just build up this area as well, and then it's just a question of just putting everything around to make it as easy as possible for us to actually stop them from coming in, apart from obviously when they do teleport, because after the first couple of waves they then actually start teleporting inside. But we want to make it as difficult for them as possible and as easy for our Minutemen as possible, so we just put barriers up everywhere so that we can take shots whilst not having to worry about getting hit ourselves. And once we have done that, it should be a relatively straightforward job of just running around, keeping our defences up, and not having to worry too much about actually fighting them ourselves. So we do a quick save in bed, then we go and very sneakily just barricade the door. Just simply just put a barricade up, and even though the synths do manage to get in from teleporting in, we're having to deal with a lot fewer than if they were all just able to just come straight through the front and back doors. So we pretty much take our time, we take out anyone that we can, but at the same time we also just run around making sure that everything is still working, so all of our turrets are still up and running, and then we just cowered out a lot of it. Luckily, we had dropped a couple of guns here before that we'd picked up earlier, so we didn't have to worry too much. And again, there are a plethora of laser muskets available in the artillery room, so we're able to get a lot of those. Unfortunately, we try using the smoke grenades, and a lot of the time we'll just get messages saying it's too close because you're throwing the artillery smoke grenades too close to the walls. So we weren't able to take out too many synths that way, which is a shame. So we have to just do it the old-fashioned way of just, again, building up. As you can see there, Preston was just bodied. So we just slept a lot, we built up a lot, and then luckily we were very much able to just coward it out, really. We used the turrets to our advantage, and then we have one last synth Corsair to deal with. We take him out, Ronnie takes out the last guys here, and boom, we are done. Without me having to do too much of the work, which is brilliant. So she gives us our mission. We have to talk to Preston so we can remove our kill box now. We don't have to worry about that. We want to give people a way in and out of the castle now, after all. And then we have to track down Preston. He'll give us the okay to do the last mission. So we have a quick chat here. He thanks us for a job well done and says it's time to go speak to Sturgis. He'll give you the code so that we can get into the Institute via the back door. So, moving quickly forward, I'm not going to show you too much of the actual fighting through the sewers because that's not very interesting. As you can see, the end result is we get in, we're able to get straight to the teleport room without too much trouble. We have picked up McCready by this point because we'd maxed out Preston and we'd maxed out Piper's affinities. So I figured, you know what? Preston's going to be there anyway with the Minutemen. It's a good idea to bring someone else. It's another gun. So we brought McCready, who's supposed to be like a crack shot, and he's going to deal with a lot of the things for us. Never really seems to work out that way. He seems to get injured himself an awful lot, but there we go. Now, someone did say that you could actually, once you actually got into the place, you could actually fast travel. So we tried doing that, but you can't on survival because we were really worried about getting bodied here. I did die a few times and had to restart this whole section, and it can get to be a pain when you've gone through all of this, you've gone through all the sewers, you go through all the back sections, you get into the Institute proper, you go into the research labs, you've taken care of the sentry bot, and then as soon as you get out into the main section, you just get shot by so many coursers. So I was hoping that you could fast travel out to the CIT ruins and then make a save, but that wasn't to be, so we figured we're going to have to do it as a one shot. But then luckily one of my friends told me, oh no, you can actually just save in the med bay because there are beds there. And I was like, oh, really? That would be great if it happens. So that was our plan, is to get through this as much as we can, but just to save, just to be on the safe side, because trying to do this whole Institute section in one shot is pretty difficult on survival when you have absolutely no armor at all. Because even though by this point, we've maxed out our energy resistance, it still is not enough, because when you're dealing with the amount of synths, just to see a volume, it's pretty brutal, to be honest. So you can see we have ourselves a pretty decent weapon and a pretty good supply of ammunition by this point. We got very, very lucky. I'm not going to lie, we got very lucky in the fact that the raider camps that are situated around southern Cambridge, right by the CIT ruins, we cleared them all out just so that we had places to sleep, which were close to the sewer entrance as possible. And all of them happened to just have enemies which had the ammunition, the 45 ammunition for the combat rifle. So I was incredibly grateful for that. I had planned on just getting in and then grabbing an Institute rifle and then using fusion cells, because we had saved them up all game just for this. So we weren't going to use the combat rifle, but we managed to get lucky. And thanks to also using a lot of jet, we go through so much jet in this last section. Not just jet, but buff jet, ultra jet, everything that we can get our hands on. And yeah, using the scoped weapon that we found was an absolute godsend, because I don't think without it we'd have been able to get as far as we did. Especially then when the guerrillas come out. That surprised me, because I wasn't expecting them the first time at all. But luckily, having gone through a couple of times already, we learned that they were going to do that. So we were able to take them out without too much trouble. And then we just go around and make sure to mop up any remaining synths in this area, just so we could collect all the stim packs, because there are quite a few stim packs and med kits around where we can pick up such things like Psycho, Med-X and Jet. So we figured, hey, why not? Let's grab everything that we can, because we're going to need everything that we can. So we do that, and now it's time for probably the worst section in the game, and that's heading out into the central atrium of the Institute. Because as soon as you come out, you can see you're very much in a firing line, and it takes a lot to get through. The synths come out, the special Institute courses come out, so it's very much a question of just popping jet and reloading as quick as possible and taking out all of the ones who rush us, and then leaving it for the Minutemen to take out anyone else. So you see here, we're just hiding. We're basically just hiding behind any cover that we can find. We're taking out the pot shots that we've got, and as soon as we can, we're just going to run. We're not going to worry too much. This section isn't too bad, but later on, when you come back down through the atrium, it's crazy, and you just can't take any chances. Once you've seen Father and you've given the all clear, it becomes pandemonium. So here, whilst we've got our teammates backing us up, we're able to get them to draw the attention and draw the fire. We can take our time and we can take the shots carefully. We can rescue McCready, and we can take out the synths that are dealing damage to our soldiers. Luckily, any Minutemen we lose quite a lot of Minutemen, to be honest, but they just send more in, so you always have about 6 or so with you. Thanks to Sturgis being on the teleporter. So we do this section. Unfortunately, everywhere is locked, so we can't actually get into the med bay, so we decide let's just go straight away to see Father. We decide to do the good guy option, since we are a police detective. We're there to protect and serve, so we decide that it's only right that we should send the emergency evacuate order. We don't even bother talking to Sean, really, because let's face it, he's a jackass. We've got nothing to say to him. So we send the order, and then it's time to go. The lockdown is over, and we've only got really 2 sections to go, and then we're done. So it's looking pretty good. Though again, it's McCready who's taken all of the damage really, and we're just cowarding it out. Again, you can see here, we've run out of normal jet, so we're onto the Psycho jet. We've pretty much been saving up all game for this section. We basically just used Green Top Nursery, which has got a ton of fertilizer. We just went up there with all of our plastic and just turned it into a jet farm, essentially. So we clear out security, we run straight to how we are actually able to save when people were shooting is beyond me, but we got very lucky. We were able to save. We didn't have the thing saying, oh, you cannot save when enemies are close by. So we got extremely lucky there. Then we run through into the advanced research section, and then it's off to our final area of the game, where we have to just face the final synths and then shut down the reactor. Now we do have to be careful here, because one of the named courses said something actually has a missile launcher up here, and that almost caught us off. So we just managed to get as many pot shots as possible and then run halfway back down the corridor while he fires off his missiles. Hit him again using VATS, wait for him to fire, and then we can finish him off. Done. So that's pretty much it now. That's all the named courses down. We only have a few normal synths to deal with and Institute scientists, so we can easily just mop those up. So we had that. I don't know why I'm still hoarding. It's just like a natural reaction, isn't it? When you've got like loot there or any kind of junk, it's like, oh, I got to hoard it. It's like, oh, you're finishing the game. You don't need to pick anything else up. But just from force of habit, I still do. So we come down. We take out the rest of the synths with the Minutemen. We use up. You can see we've almost used up all of our ammo, despite coming in with like 600 rounds. We're only 30 odd rounds left, but there are so many weapons lying around, and we have so many fusion cells from picking it up from. As you can see, we are like meticulous in picking it up from every single dropped body. So we shouldn't have had too much of a problem if we'd had another wave of soldiers to deal with. Luckily we don't. We go up, we're still picking up all these weapons for no reason, and then we realise that we're on the wrong gangway. We head down, and you can see here that it was actually a 2-shot missile launcher that he had, so we were very lucky to avoid those. Then we set the reactor to blow, and we are done. We give word to Preston, Sturgis teleports us out of there, and then we have one final thing left to do, and that's decide whether or not to take Sean's synth. We do decide to take him with us, even though we'll probably just hand him over to the railroad as soon as we get back, because it's not our real son. And I don't think it's something that John McClane will be happy about. He'd rather just sit, nurse a hangover, smoke cigarettes, and watch Captain.
Whenever you want to see humanity's best hope for the future, go up and...
So that's it. Even though we're a tech Luddite, I think we're able to manage pushing one button as John McClane. And there you go. And bye-bye, Institute. Proving that yes, you can indeed beat Fallout 4 on survival as Detective John McClane from Die Hard. And that feels very good indeed.
I can feel it wash over me.
So there we go. We managed to grab our ending. We managed to complete the game. This is my first ever Fallout 4 survival run at all, let alone doing it role-playing as a certain character or not. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. Thanks so much everyone who watches this. I don't know how well this video is going to do, but if you're watching and you've managed to watch all the way through to the end, see how I got on, then thank you so much. I hope you guys consider liking and subscribing and commenting down below how you think the run went. If there are other runs that you would like to see me do with other fictional characters, then by all means hit me up and let me know. You can either let me know in the comments down below, you can hit me up on my socials, over on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I do stream sometimes occasionally on Twitch. You can find my link down below, and if you're a really super awesome person and you want to support the channel, then the Ko-fi link is down there as well. So yeah, thanks very much. Hope you guys really found this interesting. If you've got any feedback, then like I say, please let me know down below, and until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one.
War never changes.
Oh, and of course, you didn't think I was going to just let the video finish like that without one final catchphrase from our main man, did you? No. Of course, we're going to add in a little yippee from John McClane, whilst Preston tells us there's still work to be done. Not for us, Preston. Not for us. We're done.
Hell of a bang, wasn't it?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
We await your return, warrior.